So, to whom? Maximizes good and minimizes harm to whom? To the community of people who could be offended against, to the offender, and also people who are charged with protecting our public safety. So that's who we want to maximize the good for and minimize the harm to. So the scenario is a whole bunch of new people move into the neighborhood. The Bridge Club is discussing this rumor that there's a sex offender that just moved into the neighborhood. So they're like, who could it be? Who could it be? It's the brown guy. Maybe it's the Pakistani guy, right? So they all pull out their iPhones and they go to the sex offender registry, the DOJ sex offender registry, where you can search for people by name, and they all search for Ahmed within like 5 minutes, like 8 or 10 people, right? So that information, that data goes into the server where it's recorded and then later shared with law enforcement. Note, Ahmed is not on the registry. So, but this made this a trigger for perhaps there must be a reason. So, law enforcement shows up and confronts Ahmed in his new home at the door, and there's that awful experience. So, the IAs who are designing this consider this. And as they're designing each thing, they're considering a lot of things. So this is like one of the many thousands of things they consider. So they design that, they dictate that search data cannot be stored. So that eliminates that. So let's see if that even works. Does that affect the good for any of these groups? How does it violate that idea of maximizing good and minimizing harm? Does it harm public safety? Does it, we say, no. A sex offender, what's the purpose of the sex offender registry? Also, we go and figure stuff out like, verify the goals of the system. Are the goals of the system to maximize punishment against sex offenders? Or is it to, protect the community? Is the purpose of the system to provide tips to law enforcement? Well, maybe that's not. And we also look at the legal constraints. Okay? So we designed that particular thing. So looking at it in the M3 model, in practice, we're looking at the practice level. The other thing that we do is look for other ethical issues in our design as we're making the new design and also in the current design. So for instance, one of the issues was, what was it, Keith? That should it be possible to even search by?
Is it a legal requirement?
Right. Why do we even let people type in the name of the sex offender? Couldn't they just type in their zip code and we can tell them how many sex offenders
are there sex offenders in a particular region? We want to search if, there are issues around that.
Is there a legal requirement to even show a name?
Right.
Or is that an artifact of old systems?
Okay, so that's part of our practice. That's part of our practice because we have a paradigm called practice ethical IA. And within that paradigm, there are many theories and models. One of them is this communitarianist, but there are others as well. So maximize good and minimize harm is one of our practices. But we notice when we discover flaws, ethical issues in the current design, what can we do about it as IAs? Well, we think that there's a need for there to be a position called information ethicist, a role or an office of that, so that we could bring those things up. Maybe things need to be changed. So the law may actually say, yes, you can. Our goal is to punish sex offenders forever. It's not to just make sure that sex offense is a certain kind of offense that has certain consequences, and maybe the extra protections need to be made. We know that, but is the goal of the law to protect or is it to punish? And if it's to punish, then that needs to be changed, right? So that's one thing that one could look to create is a new structure that would help make those changes be possible. So we're bidding for that.
And in particularly sticky situations such as changing laws to loosen constraints of sex offender registries that could be really politically charged and very difficult. This information ethicist could at least provide standardization. In a community that may say it's government, they have other avenues to approach ethics and other disciplines. So at least they would recognize and respect that level of a position. And maybe be able to equate it and not try to just skip it because it's a touchy subject.